Good morning and welcome to Daegu, South Korea. Let's go on a morning mountain walk. This is one of the tributary mountains or hills, rises to Apsan. Apsan is supposedly, according to legend, the home of a goddess. And Pagongsan, her husband, is of course the home to a god. As per usual in Korea, we have stairs to go up the mountain. It is a gorgeous morning, nice and cool after a beautiful monsoon rain yesterday and last night. It has cleared the air, it has cooled the earth. It has not yet gotten hot and humid because it's still relatively early, not as early as I wanted it to be by the time I reached the trailhead, but there it is. Right there is city, because this mountain is literally in the middle of the city, or at least in the midst of it. Yeah, we have been suffering from an egregious heat wave these last 2 weeks because it's monsoon season, but it wasn't raining. If it doesn't rain during monsoons, then it's just hot and humid, like a sauna, like a wet sauna. So, the worst of all worlds. But when it rains, it cools down. It's so beautiful. The path we're on leads to what used to be a fortress. This was a fortified mountain hundreds of years ago because of its strategic position. Unfortunately, of that medieval fortification, as we will shortly see, there's basically only piles of rocks. One of the interesting things to see along this walk is this tomb that you see straight ahead of you. That little hillock is a family tomb. And that altar is for offerings at the proper times of year. The ancestral rites during Chuseok, on the death anniversary, sometimes even on the birthday of the person, depending on the family. A little eerie to just encounter those silent sentinels of lives past. Eerie in a pleasant way. More graves. For various reasons, historically, Koreans have buried their dead in the mountains, not in a cemetery in the center of a city. One is a fear, an old fear, that the dead souls of the dead would come back and haunt them if they were too close. Even Christian cemeteries in Korea are in the mountains. Here you can see an outline of the fortress. We're inside of it at this point. Actually, some of those stone foundations that we walked over were part of that fortress. So you can see how prominently it is along the river. So over here, all this masonry is not naturally occurring. Respiration of the trees, the earth's breathing. Off the beaten trail onto a less beaten trail. I mentioned that Korean trails don't believe in switchbacks. You just go straight up the mountain. I picked this trail because I thought no one would be on it. I was wrong. Bad luck to fall in right behind someone else just having entered the mountain, going on exactly the same trail when everyone else is on the other trails. Okay. Just hoping to offer you all a view of lovely nature, not other people's backsides. Sounds of fighter jets in the morning. There's a Korean Air Force base right here in the city. Not American, Korean. They have fighter jets too, and they fly them. If you look in the trail, everyone, you can see I'm gonna call it a cut through the underbrush on the trail, through the pine needles and whatnot. That's from the monsoon rain. It ran down this trail like a river yesterday, no doubt. It was such a gorgeous night. The musical pitter-patter of the rain, the cool air, the damping effect of the falling water, dampening effect of the falling water. A sign warning about forest fires. We've had wildfires here in Korea, really bad ones. Okay, more of the fortress. Right ahead, that pile of stones there, those are worked stones, not naturally occurring. Here you can get an idea of how far we've walked and how big this thing is, the fortress is. We've only made it that far into the fortress. I'll go this way. Be really careful here. The path gets super crazy. See? Path might be the wrong word. Now we're just sort of skirting the fortress. And of course, everything's slick from the monsoons. So, extra adventuresome. This may become found footage, everyone. We'll see. Then we reach one of the very frequent amenities in Korea, outdoor workout areas, free and open to the public, in good condition, and most importantly, heavily utilized. So imagine you walk up that little hill we just walked up. That's your warm-up cardio. You get here, you do some toning, varieties of strength training and stretching. And then you go back for your cool down. We did hula hoops, parallel bars for your gymnastics workout. So those signs there that are pointing in directions and have distances on them, those distances I think are just to prevent people from despairing. They've never seemed to actually be representative of any actual distance covered, and by actual I mean they're short. So I'm never certain if that's as the crow flies or someone measured it along a path that's no longer there. But yeah, in fact, it wouldn't surprise me if we hit another sign up here that has the exact same distances to the exact same place, even though we've made progress hypothetically. That does happen. Has happened often to us hiking around Korea. This is one of the few places in Korea on a mountain where it's actually relatively flat. That is not the usual situation. More wildfire warning signs. The last set of wildfires were started by an ancestral offering where they were burning incense at their ancestors' mountain tomb, and the sparks got carried by the wind into the treetops and from treetop to treetop to treetop. And that was back in April. You look up Andong wildfire or Korea wildfire, you'll see it was apocalyptically bad. So yeah, Koreans are now taking wildfires super duper 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 seriously. Not that they weren't before, but they've notched the vigilance up by a magnitude, order of magnitude, not even exponentially. Including helicopters flying around the mountains, keeping an eye on the horizon so they can spot smoke as soon as it forms and initiate extinguishing efforts immediately. Amazing how thoroughly a structure like a fortress built of stone can be taken back by nature. Of course, no doubt, people over the centuries, once it stopped being used,